Okay folks, now in this part of the video I'm going to show you what it is to draw in half scale. So I'm going to start out by drawing a simple house here, and I'm going to go ahead and use some basic numbers as well to make it easy for us to figure out how to do the half size of this house. So we're going to start with the walls, and this is going to be my starting point here. And I'm just going to go 3 inches up. So as I was mentioning to you, this graph paper is really helpful because it has dark lines at the inch markers. So this is 1, 2, 3 inches high. And let's go ahead and take this house 4 inches wide. So draw that over. Pause at the 4-inch mark, and then we'll do this one also at 3 inches, this wall. Okay, so we've got the 2 walls in the foundation of our house. And I'm going to go ahead and walk my pen over and see that this is the halfway point. And let's go ahead and go up 1, 2 inches as well. So that will be the apex of our house. And then we'll learn from that that is actually a right angle, and that we go over to and up to. Now on this one, when we get over to drawing the half scale, it'll be important to probably find that point rather than trying to divide this length number in half, because that length is kind of an odd number. It's 2 and 13/16. So it'll be a lot easier to just find this point and then triangulate back. Alright, so we've got the frame of our house built. Now let's just go ahead and add a door for fun. We're going to move this over here, start at 4 inches, or sorry, 4 boxes. Now each of these boxes are 1/8 of an inch. That's actually just a 1/2 inch. And we'll give it a whole inch. To the other side of the door, I'm going to go up 2.5 inches. So that's up to one solid line, up to another solid line, and then you just add 4 boxes to get to your half mark. Plus I'm holding my ruler at that point as well, just as a safety measure. Okay, then let's also add a window here. I'm going to start at the same level as the top of the door, as often doors and windows are. It makes them look nice from the inside. And I'm just going to go over 1.5 inches on this. And I'll make it square. We'll go down 1.5 inches. This direction. Then back over 1.5 inches. And there we go. We got ourselves a window. It'd be nice to detail that window out so people know it's a window and not just a hole in the wall. So let's go ahead and find the halfway distance between 1.5 inches. So we know that half of 1 inch is 1/2 of an inch. And then we know that half of 1/2 of an inch is 1/4 of an inch, because we can just multiply the denominator by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm going to do that math for you here in case you wanted to. As we like to do in this class, we just divide first the whole number. So the whole number divided in half is 1/2, plus this part of things, you just times the bottom by 2, equals 1/4, and we'll slot that in over here. So 1/2 plus 1/4 equals 2/4 plus 1/4, showing my work, equals 3/4. Okay, so now that we know we gotta go down 3/4, we'll go ahead and mark 3/4 of an inch. And as you'll notice, for those of you guys who have a harder time doing fractions and dividing them, you can also practice figuring out how to count boxes. So from dark line to dark line will be 8 boxes. Then you can go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 boxes. And then we can just divide that whole number. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good, we got the right point. So since we've already done the math once, we don't need to do it again. Since we did 1.5 inches up and 1.5 inches down, we can just count over again. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And make sure that that hits our 3/4 inch mark. And it sure does. Remember, another way you can check that is it should be 3/4 inch to the middle, and then 3/4 inch from middle to the other side. And so that's how you know it's centered. All right. So now we've got ourselves a house. Great job. So this is a 1 to 1 scale. Now let's go ahead and bring that down to a half scale, which means we are going to make our new house that we're drawing over here half the size as this one. Okay. Sorry, half the size is not accurate. It'll be scaled down by a half. So in full proportion, it'll probably be less than a half as far as its surface area. If it was 3D, definitely its volume would be less, but it's a half scale. So in our terms, as far as using the standard imperial inches, that means that for every 6 inches we have on our drawing, it will equal 1 foot in reality. So that's called a 6 inch equals 1 foot scale. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Remember, we had 3 inches for the wall. So since we had 3 inches for the wall here, we have to divide 3 in half. So we know that. This one's a pretty easy one because it's a whole number. 3 divided by 2 is equal to 1 1/2. Right? Good. So, that being said, we're going to remember that our dark lines, and we'll start from this point here, our dark lines equal 1 inch. And then we remember that to get halfway between one of the dark lines and the other, you will count up 4. So 1 inch plus a half. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can always check that with our ruler as well, that is 1 1/2. Indeed it is. And then remember our bottom on our full scale one was 4 inches. So we only go over 2 inches. Again, 4 divided by 2 is 2. I don't think we need to do that math for us. And then I'll do my 1.5 inches up. So you can already tell it's certainly smaller. Now we need to find that apex. So here we had counted over 1, 2 bold lines and 1, 2 bold lines up. So here we'll just go 1 bold line over and 1 bold line up. The trouble is we were halfway through a bold line here. So what we'll need to do is just mark first that that's the point. And if you do it using pencil, that'll be nice because you'll be able to erase that eventually. But then we know that a bold point is really just the same as an inch. So we can measure an inch, or we can count 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're putting our apex there. Great. Now you can go ahead and connect the dots. Alright, so we've got the structure of our house. Let's work on the doors and windows. Here we've got 4 boxes over, which is a 1/2 inch. So now, since we know we're going to be going from, we're going to divide 1/2 inch by 2, which is the same as multiplying the bottom by 2, therefore getting 1/4. So let's double check that our 2 boxes equals 1/4. Indeed it does, and that's where we're going to start our door. now here we go, we have 1 inch for the door over here. So over here we'll have a 1/2 inch, which should be 4 boxes. Indeed it is. So, next thing we're doing, here we had dark line, and a 1/2, which is 2 1/2. So we got to do some math again. We have our 2 1/2, and we'll divide first our whole number, turns into 1, and then we're going to take our fraction, and we're going to multiply the bottom by 2, equaling 1 1/4. And we'll bring that down here, and it's 1 1/4. So now we know that we need to go 1 1/4 high, and it should be that we could be able to divide the boxes as well. We know it's 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it should be 10 boxes high. Let's see if 1 1/4 is 10 boxes high. Indeed, we get to 8 at the dark line, and then 9, 10. So we're doing great. We already have the width of the door because we did that math over here. Draw that across, draw that down, and draw this across. Now we've got our 1/2 scale door in our 1/2 scale house. And here again we have 4 boxes over, or 1/2 inch. And we already did the math there. Our 1/2 inch divided by 2 gets us to 1 1/4. So we're going to draw over 1 1/4 to get our starting point. And let's see, this is 1 1/2 inches, and we've already divided our 1 1/2 inches as well. Divided 1 1/2 as a 1/2, and then our 1/2 1/2 is a 1/4. Added those together and got 3/4 of an inch. So we should be measuring over 3/4 of an inch for the top of our window, and drawing that line. And we already know that that's the same as the amount that we're going down, 3/4 of an inch. And here we can divide 3/4 in half to find out where those cross members go. Those are called muttons and mullions on Windows. So we'll divide 3/4 in half. 3/4 divided by 2 is equal to 3/4 times 1/2, which equals 3/8, 3/8 of an inch. So, as I said, each of the boxes are 1/8, so that makes it easy. We just count over 3, and we'll do that down as well. And there we go. There we go. We've got our full-scale house and our 1/2 scale house.